the supporters. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and stay tuned for more crazy content. In this week's video, I'm going to be installing this really cool aftermarket radio for my 2013 Audi A4. And this is by the RSNAV company. This $750 package comes with the plastic cover for the dashboard. It comes with a bracket and a few screws right here. And obviously it comes with a 12.5-inch RSNAV radio screen. It comes with the GPS dongle. It comes with a 4G LTE antenna for your phone. It comes, well, I had a deal for a front dash cam, if you guys can see that. It comes with this plug. This green plug gets plugged in here to this adapter, and this USB gets plugged in to either this USB port or this one. I'm not sure which one is Apple CarPlay / Android Auto, but we will figure that out soon. And with this one, this is going to go to your radio controls. This is to get the sound from the radio to play in your car. One of them will get plugged into the speaker, which would be this one, and then the other one will be plugged into the wire that's in the car, which would be this one right here. Apart from that, we have a separate attachment I purchased, which is the rear view camera HD2. It comes with this plug right here, and this is the plugs for the rear view camera. This one goes into the AC plug that's in the car, and this one goes to the back of the unit. Don't forget to always disconnect your battery in the trunk before touching any electrical cables off the car. We're gonna pry out this whole plastic silver cover from the AC to the instrument cluster to the MMI screen. We're gonna pull all that out, starting off from this side right here. Just like how we did with the P3 boost gauge installation, we're just gonna slowly pry it. You can also use your hands to pop this piece out. Make sure you get the black piece right here that's covering the MMI screen off as well. It all comes off together. Ow, my finger. Now that we can push this out, we can disconnect the emergency light. In order to remove the 4 screws holding the original Audi MMI 2G screen, we need a T20 Torx bit. Screen down, find this notch right here, and push down. And then pull up on the cable. I'm just gonna grab my pick, wedge it in here. I'm gonna pull out just like that. Same thing on the other side. There you go. So in order to remove your center console, you gotta do a few things first. You're gonna work your way from the front to the back of the car. We're gonna start off by removing the transmission lever and the cover right here. We're gonna get our trim tool and we're just gonna lift up on it. There we go. We can then pull this cover up. We're gonna flip it to the side. Don't mind the damage on this. The transmission, that lever still works fine. Make sure you have your car in neutral, by the way. There's enough space to remove all this out. Twisting it and it comes off. And you got pull down, and then from there we could press the button on the transmission lever and pull up. It's gonna be kind of tricky at first. There we go. Even though I have removed this before, don't worry about it. I will explain everything you need to do. I put it back together as much as possible to show you every step. So don't worry about this cover missing, don't worry about this piece missing, and don't worry about the center console trim missing. This cubby, you're just gonna pry out and it comes off, that simple. The next thing you're gonna do is locate a bolt, which I already have removed. I believe it's a 10 or 13 bolt. Once you get that off, you can then push back on this tab right here, and then you should be able to pull it out slowly. Push, you're gonna wedge your trim tool in there, and you're gonna pull. It's gonna be kind of tricky to do with one hand. Once you have it pulled out, you can then begin prying out the exterior part from the top to the bottom. Now that we have popped everything out without breaking any clips or hinges, we can then disconnect the cigarette lighter, push down on that tab, and then you're gonna pull out. So 1, 2, 3, 4 nuts. I believe there are 13. And after that, we can then disconnect the 1 to 8mm. Now that we have disconnected everything in the back, we can finish it off with the front again. So we're going to disconnect the transmission selector cover. We're gonna grab our prying tools and we're just gonna pry from the sides until it comes off. There we go. Pull the tab down, pull out. Pull the tab down and pull out. And the traction control, pull the tab down and pull out. I just noticed that I didn't screw this in for this video to show you guys, but the bolts holding in the cigarette lighter in place. Once you remove them, you can then push this out like as so and disconnect the cigarette lighter. I completely missed that step. And it comes off just like that. Lift the red tab up. Now we can press the black tab in and pull out. Black tab in and pull out. I believe it's 8mm bolts that we have to remove, 4 of them, to remove the Audi MMI 2G concert radio. Pull this out. We only need to disconnect this one right here. So we're gonna lift this tab up. Be kind of tricky. There we go. Lift it up and then pull out. And we can just set this off to the side. Back in there. Because we're gonna remove the whole center console. Don't forget to disconnect that cable under there too. Now once you have everything disconnected, you can lift up right here and slowly pull back. The main reason I had to remove my center console was to reroute the rear camera wires as well as the USB, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto wires right here. Pull your unit out and just lay it. Now this may be a little bit tricky, routing the aftermarket radio harness behind the right vent. So if you look right here, there's gonna be like a little wedge where you can fit your hand all the way back here, and the cables can be fished to this little hole right here. It'd be kind of hard, but I don't want to take anything else apart. There it is, come on. Come on. Oh, that tab is in the way. Okay, there we go. There we go. And it comes off just like that. And while we're at it, we might as well upgrade the speaker. Get your T20 Torx and begin removing the 2 screws holding in the center speaker. Use the same method on how we routed the power cable up here. The same thing with the speaker cables. So let's do it. I feel it. Okay, there we go. We got it. Connect to the center dash speaker. So we're gonna plug this to the speaker. Instead, I'm gonna be using my Bang & Olufsen speaker. Let's see if this works. Oh, it works. All right, so the 2018 Audi A4 B9 Bang & Olufsen speaker works on my car. The plug. We're gonna move that off to the side, and we're gonna get the plug to the car now and grab the cable that's built into the car, and we're gonna plug in the speaker to the car. Alright, there we go. I'm gonna leave that now. That's gonna be for testing purposes because the Bang & Olufsen speaker does not physically fit. The radio plug of the car, we're gonna plug it in to the female of the aftermarket wiring harness. We're gonna match up the pins. So the white portion will go in the blue and green portion up here, and we're gonna lock it in place. Make sure the locking mechanism is pulled all the way back. We're gonna plug it in, push in, and now you heard that click, it's locked in. Alright, you heard that click, they're both in. We're gonna have to fix these cables up in a bit. So this is the AC controls. We're gonna plug it in first. The big one that goes in here. Push it in. We're gonna plug in this right here. And then this one's just gonna be plugged in right here. Okay, so I temporarily connected everything so I could test out with Vacom how to get the auxiliary input enabled. You're gonna go into the Vacom, you're gonna open up the radio. Once you open up the radio, you're gonna let it load. You're gonna click coding. You're gonna click long coding helper. You're gonna check aux installed. You can then proceed to the next column, which would be, where is it? You're gonna uncheck mobile device interface. Then you click exit and you click do it. I already did it, I don't need to change it. To get the audio to work right on the MMI 2G high system on my base 2013 Audi A4 with the non-navigation and no Bluetooth, none of that, just Bluetooth calls only. This is the Audi Concert/Symphony radio with the AMI interface right here with the iPod adapter cable. Nothing's plugged in, and I used Vacom to go into media and allow the source for aux to be available. So you click on that and it takes you to the RSNAV. The same thing with the navigation button. So we can go back home. Let's go to Audi MMI. Let's play the radio. We got the radio right there, and we're gonna switch to media. USB cable that's connected to the back of the wiring harness loom of the aftermarket radio. That is only for Android Auto/Apple CarPlay. This USB right here that's connected from the back of the unit, this USB, it has this connector right here. USB number 2 is for the dash cam only. So we are going to grab the extension from the camera. We're gonna plug in the green side. You can then just set that off to the side because we are going to have to remove the side columns and the headliner to install that cable, as well as the GPS and the 4G LTE antenna. Now that we know what to do with the dash cam, we're gonna plan out the rear reverse camera. And there's a red plug right here. And then the cable that goes into the back of the wiring harness, which gets connected to the back of the aftermarket radio unit, is this yellow cable. And then what gets plugged in to the back of the camera on the red plug is this red plug. So we're gonna leave that off to the side. We're gonna connect this to one of the yellow auxiliary cables right here. CCD CVBS is the one we're gonna attach to the rear view camera. So we're gonna fish these cables under here. The DVR plug, we're gonna leave that unplugged. We don't need that one for now. And we're just gonna push these cables off to the back because we have to route them underneath. Now once we organized all the cables, we can then put the 4 8mm back in place. In this step, we will be pasting the 4G LTE antenna, the GPS antenna, and the dash cam not only on the windshield but above the headliner, which I have removed. Now if you don't have your headliner removed like me, don't worry about it. All you gotta do is have the headliner popped out a little bit so you can squeeze in these antennas with the 3M tape and paste it right here or right here. Maybe kind of tricky, but you can still have it managed to do it like that. Or you could have it on the side right here. The main reason why I have removed my headliner was to replace it because the color was all faded, as well as my sunroof had been broken for a while, and that's how water started leaking in the car because it wasn't closing properly. So I have to get the sunroof replaced anyway soon. And to remove the left column, you're gonna grab your trim pick, pop this cover out, locate that 25 Torx, pull this out hard until the clips come off, and then we're gonna pull up. It's gonna be kind of tricky at first. We have to pull this up and then back. You are free to do whatever cable management you want to do, but this is how I'm gonna do it. I have zip tied along this loom of wires right here all the way down. I'm gonna cut those off as well. I'm gonna tuck it in through this corner right here, pop out the P3 boost gauge with the vent, have it hanging right there. I'm gonna have the cables fish through this hole right here and be tucked in under the instrument cluster all the way to the radio. Here's my suggestion when it comes to using the USB cables as well as other cables. If you never want to get loose, get some heat shrink tube, and then you're going to connect them both together. See how clean this looks? And it's tight, so it's not going to go anywhere, it's not going to get loose. Now we can reinstall the P3 boost gauge with the air vent as we routed the cables under this right here. We have all the cables nice and neatly tucked in place with zip ties underneath the instrument cluster, and it's enough space so that you could push back and pull forward your steering wheel up and down without damaging or crimping the cables, because that's a really tight stretch, so the cables are not going to be wiggling anywhere now, especially now that the cables have been passed underneath this little piece right here. I did have to pull off this key cover to make the cables fit through this little gap right here. And then after there, I routed the cables underneath right here. Don't worry about the scratch, that's actually the film protective that comes with it. So I'm going to remove that when I'm done here. Anyways, we're going to remove the radio now so we can install this bracket with the 4 screws. Now that the whole dashboard cover has been installed, we can then grab the aftermarket one and simply start feeding the wires and connecting the wires. There are 3 screws you need to put in to hold this plastic cover in place. 1, 2, 3. As the 4th hole, there's no screw hole. The biggest issue with this aftermarket radio is the fitment. It's pushed in all the way, but there's a gap that looks really ugly. So it's not a big deal because the screen's gonna cover it. I just don't like how it's flushed in all the way up here and then it pops out so far. It's just the way it's made. Anyways, let's start putting in the screen with the 2 giant screws on top to keep it held in place. It's all now flushed in. The 2 screws are holding in the screen. It's all even. And now let's turn on the ignition. Now if you want to change your vehicle, just hold this icon right here and then you can change it to any of these models. For the GPS antenna, I recommend downloading an application from the App Store called GPS Plus. This one comes default. I downloaded this one because it's like the more featured one. If you go into this application, I would suggest going out in the area with the most service on your phone, and then from that you could place the GPS somewhere in your car, either on the windshield or on the roof right here, and find out what's the best connection for your car, as well as for the 4G LTE antenna, and then based on that location, that's where you'll paste the antenna. Unless you're simply going to use the antenna from the car and just route the OEM cables all the way to the radio. This application right here is for the front dash cam. Now we just need to find out a place to paste it on the windshield. Also, you can stop recording right there. You can record picture in picture, so it's always recording. In order to install the rear view camera, we have to remove the whole trunk liner by removing the screw right here, which I have taken out, the 2 rubber stoppers for the trunk on each side, and the trunk emergency latch. Once you got that out, we're gonna get the prying tools and remove the clips. In order to remove the trunk button latch, you're gonna go under here and locate those 2 10mm nuts you gotta remove and disconnect the wire. And using your prying tools, it may be stuck at first, it's gonna be a little bit tricky, but you gotta pry out from the edges until it comes off. You're gonna pull those 2 tabs inward. Next step is to get this red wire from the rear view camera and feed it through this hole right here. Remember that my trunk is wrapped, and it is a bit scratched up when I was prying it out, so don't worry about that. Anyways, next step is we're going to be installing the 2 nuts in the back right here and plug it in the wire. Apologize for the spaghetti mess, but we are routing the rear view camera wires under the carpet right here. And if you look right here, you can see that the rear carpet had pre-cut wires, so all you had to do was lift up until this tab pops off like that. And I was able to fish the wires with a coat hanger, and I got it up right here, and now we're going to route it underneath right here under the rear seats, and we're gonna have it connected to the wire. Cable is underneath the seats. If you want to know how to remove your rear seats, you can watch the video in the upper right hand corner on how to remove your rear seats. From the rear seats to behind the trunk wall liner. Now we can start cleaning up the cables. As for the cable management, you can see it's well zip tied all the way across the wiring loom. We have it zip tied in there as well. And we have it connected right there. I'm not sure where these two wires plug into, but I'm gonna have to cap that off if we don't need them. And I have the rest of the wires zip tied. And that is it for this video, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more crazy content later on. I will also be making an update video in the future on all the features, everything this radio has, all the cool things. I will be showcasing how to use Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, the Android mirroring screen, and all those other functions, as well as the dashboard. Remember that I will make a future video, all the applications, how to set up your device.